3, 2. All right. No, you keep playing. It's fine. How's it going, everybody? How's it going, everybody? It's Shinigami here to bring. Okay, I'm being told fuck me gladly. Just kidding. Ah! All right. So it's been another wonderful week in the month of June. A bit gay for some, but we're pulling through, right? As a straight white man. Well, now I'm a Mexican, so I can't really say white man. But as a straight Mexican, estamos haciendo muy bien aquí. Por favor, si pueden a subscribe, dejan una comenta, está bien, por favor. And yeah, if anybody else understands Spanish, then they get what I'm saying. Other than that, I'm just gonna say comment, subscribe, like. This is a weekly show that happens every Saturday. Not always on time. I was supposed to start at 11. I kind of got a little held up because I was doing some more research, finding articles that I want to talk about. But we are here. And first and foremost, we've got a lovely panel. Sorry, a lovely bunch of topics to go over. First thing I think that would be fun to talk about. Deadpool 3. Sorry, I keep saying Deadpool. Fuck me. Venom 3. God damn it. Honestly, this one kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't even expecting Venom to be a thing. But they definitely pushed Kraven the Hunter back from its original release to a holiday release because they said hopefully it has people rewatching or coming back to the movies to watch Kraven the Hunter. In my personal opinion, I think that's a bad fucking move, but what do I know? Instead, God, I keep saying Deadpool. Venom 3 has taken the place of Venom. Wait, did I say that right? No. Venom 3 has taken the place of Kraven the Hunter. Original release coming out in, I believe, October. Yeah, October 25th. And the big thing that I would say that this kind of just does is it does confuse a bit of people about what is actually going to go on, the continuity between the MCU and Sony universe, Spider-Man stuff. We haven't heard anything from Sony. We haven't heard anything from Marvel about continuing the story of Peter Parker in the MCU. So that leaves a lot of fans up to speculate what is actually going on. Some of the key parts that are happening are this man right here, who isn't the same actor from Spider-Man No Way Home, and also the bar looking a bit differently. That's what has a lot of people being like, well, did they just retcon, Venom being in the MCU, or what was that, right? Because it is confusing. I'm not gonna lie. And then you also have Kurt Connors, or the actor that played Kurt Connors in The Amazing Spider-Man, also showing up in this film. Now, whether he's just some random fucking hippie or if he's actually, integral to the fucking story, we have no idea. Obviously, more will be told once the fucking movie comes out. But as of right now, speculation is wild. Everybody is a little bit fucking unsure of how they feel about Venom, The Last Dance. Obviously, some pretty cool parts are, the fact that Venom takes over a horse for a little bit. We get to see that clip. I'm not going to play anything from that shit because it kept getting fucking copyrighted even for a little bit. I'm not even going to fuck with it. But we do have, these stills that we got here. And I'll just go over that much. But I would say the biggest mess up that this does is mostly towards the MCU because it messes up their continuity, messes up what I guess you would say normies feel is going on with Marvel. They're not gonna distinguish the two. To them, Sony Universe Marvel and this Marvel are literally the same fucking thing. So what I feel like this one has to do is clearly state what happened at the end of No Way Home. If they just kind of brush over that, then they did a disservice, unfortunately, to the people that were keeping track of all that shit. But Tom Hardy definitely has done his own interpretation of Eddie Brock. He's been able to basically portray a mentally unstable person who's having to deal with two personalities at once. So that's why you always see him kind of fucking sick or ill, because he's not sure if he's all right with his stuff, right? I'm guessing that eating humans as well kind of fucks with his body. Yes, Venom is the one that's eating them, but they're a symbiote species in a way. Like, there's got to be some kind of side effects that we're not really sure, but I'm sure. Sorry, keep repeating myself. There has been a lot of fans that aren't happy with his portrayal because Eddie Brock from the comics, even Agent Venom, other things like that, um, never really that same side effect. And usually you have a very powerful, strong male just not having the same issues that Eddie Brock is having in the Sony universe, right? That's probably some of the nitpicks that people have with Tom Hardy's version. But overall, I would say he does a very good job portraying an insane person, and especially during the trailer, there's quite a bit of lines. The whole "We're Venom," whatever. Like, you have Venom trying to like overpower and be like, "Let's do this," and then Tom Hardy's version is just like, "No, we're just gonna be a little bit more mellow about it." And the battle between the personalities is great. Um, there has been obviously a what you call it, unfortunate rehashing of certain events. So from Venom 1 to Venom 2, it basically did the same thing as Venom 1. You know, Venom not really wanting to be with Eddie Brock, and so he left that body, and then just to realize that, well, no, this is the body that actually is meant for me, and we actually can coalesce properly, whatever. But in this film, huh? Coincide. There you go. Sorry. Uh, it, as long as this film doesn't just rehash the same types of settings and story elements that we had from the first two movies, I think it'll do significantly better than those previous films. The other thing as well, again, like I said, addressing the continuity issues, retconning, and other things like that. Are we actually pulling from other Sony universes? Because we had from the other fucking movie, you had Vulture pop into this universe, basically, and it had people confused because Vulture from the MCU is now in the Sony universe, isn't willing to give up Peter Parker's identity, things like that. Like, we just need to know if this is actually going anywhere or if it's just a bunch of bullshit. That's all I want to say, right? But we won't really know much until October 25th or more trailers, but I'm not going to see any more trailers for this fucking film. I'm just going to wait and hopefully see it on streaming or whatever. I'm not going to pay for this shit. Uh, yeah, it could be a good comedic end and a little bit of suspense, but I'm not really holding my breath for Sony and all the films that they're basically making about villains, because we do deserve better than this, right? We do deserve having Spider-Man fight the villains, but for whatever reason, obviously partially because of contractual obligations, we haven't seen Spider-Man fight any of these really good villains that he could be fighting. He could be fighting Venom, he could be fighting Craven. We're not getting any of that. That's unfortunate now, unless somehow Sony and Marvel come to an agreement and the next Spider-Man film, which at this point wouldn't even come out until like 2026, I see very low chance for us seeing Tom Holland continue in, the Spider-Verse. It's unfortunate, but Sony really hasn't done much justice in this regard and has only left fans speculating, which is probably the worst thing you can do because it sets expectations higher than they can be met. And when those expectations don't be met, people are going to be very disappointed that, hey, I thought they were going to go with this, but they didn't end up doing that. And I thought that this was connected, but it wasn't. And now it's falling apart. Simple as that. Better thing would have been just address the issues head on, make a fucking statement through the companies, Sony or Marvel, whatever, that, hey, we've come to an agreement. We're going to be pushing out Spider-Man 4, and it'll have these characters in it. So that way fans don't have to be pulling, piecing together a bunch of fucking things that probably won't even ever come to fruition. That's unfortunate, but that's where I think we should leave it off for Venom 3. Next part, I would say, is this little clip. So, we have a little bit of child's play here where, unfortunate for the authoritarian left, they've come to use this symbol as a way of now arresting some kids. 3 kids are now under arrest because they've committed a hate crime over doing donuts and peeling out on a pride flag. Now, a lot of people have pointed out, and it's come to my attention, that, you know what, there's a reason we don't put flags displayed on the ground. Well, for one, it's easy to fucking deface. Yeah, it's easy to deface something that's on the ground, and especially on a fucking road where people can literally, what if someone's coming too fast and they brake and they end up leaving some skid marks on this fucking thing? That's unfortunate, but I feel like that shouldn't be held, responsible for the people that created the skid marks, right? It's more so, if you're creating this art installation, put it somewhere where nobody can fuck with it, right? That way, you literally have no way for this kind of stuff to transpire. And this was from Gundam basically saying, this is just kids. Kids got caught having too much fun near Pride Mural. They will soon be arrested. And sure enough, a little bit later, we end up seeing, yeah, they actually got arrested and committed for a hate crime. Like, that's the type of world we're living in. And even a few people pointing out that, like, the flag has basically just become a symbol of authoritarianism, and it's gone too far, I would say. Of course, a lot of the wokies and stuff like that will basically say this is unacceptable behavior. We can't have these kind of hooligans running amok, defacing our pride symbols. But if you didn't want it to be fucked with, why is it on a fucking road? First and foremost, most people, I mean, we don't have this type of thing for 4th of July. We don't have this thing for Veterans Day. We don't have this thing for Memorial Day. We don't have this for Mother's Day, Father's Day. There's nothing like that. There's not even for Christmas, not even for Halloween, not even for Easter. Think of any fucking holiday that you can imagine, and we never have that fucking holiday or anything like that depicted on the goddamn street. Probably for a reason, right? But these bright-headed motherfuckers want to put their symbol on the goddamn road. Do you not expect some people to be childish? Do you just expect them to be perfect citizens of whatever, civilized humans? No, there's always going to be hooligans. There's always going to be some kids being kids. They're like, oh, they don't want me to touch that. Guess what? I'm going to touch it. I'm going to deface it. Like, no, I'm not saying it's right, but there's behaviors. It's called the Streisand effect for a reason. You tell people don't do that. Guess what? They're going to be 10 times more likely to want to do it because you told them not to. It's an unfortunate effect, but maybe if you didn't point it out, it wouldn't even become a thing, right? But in this day and age, it's become apparent that certain things, especially when it comes to Pride Month, don't you dare talk bad about our Pride Month, or you're going to the gulag. You're getting arrested. You're going to face 10 years in jail, 5 years, whatever, all because you misbehaved. When a lot of the time it's just kids being kids. Again, I'm not condoning the behavior, but we've all done stupid shit. It's just crazy at the point where we've gotten where this is considered a hate crime. The world is in shambles and we're just falling into clown world, I would say. And that's unfortunate, but so goes this portion of the segment. I will continue on. I have a lot of stuff to fucking talk about. I would say once we get to the 15-minute mark in a little bit, I'll cover this next portion. I'm literally waiting just 7 seconds. I know, ridiculous, right? All right. So today, June 8th, is World Ocean Day. Now, what does that mean? One ocean, one climate, one future together. I always want to point out something a little bit positive when it comes to the Ace in the Hole show on Saturdays and stuff like that. There's always something to acknowledge that isn't fucking crappy as hell. And for that, it would be talking about the ocean right now. So, World Ocean Day is powered by the Youth Advisory Council, and we have plenty of supporters. Thank you, supporters of World Ocean Day around the world that are taking steps to clean up beaches, clean up the reefs, clean up the oceans, and other parts, other things like that that have definitely stained our planet. Unfortunately, humans, for one, are not the most caring sometimes with their environment. They seem to think just of themselves or their surrounding circle, so they don't see the impact that they're making on the environment, nature, other things like that. Other animals, other creatures definitely live on this planet that I would say hold higher regard than us. Guess what? If all the plants fucking vanished, we'd be dead in a goddamn minute. But because ocean and plant life and other things like that are very heavily affected by humans, I would say it very much becomes a responsibility on us who have the capability to do something about it. Now, I'm not saying the elite will ever do anything about this, right? They always want to portray themselves on a higher ground and say, "Oh, we're doing this and that." Well, guess what? You're flying around on your private jet half the fucking time from across the goddamn world. It's not doing anything for us. But your local citizens, your local residents, and things like that, when it comes to the beaches and the reefs and water life, there is stuff that can be done. Clean up after yourself. Make sure you don't interact with animals that should not be interacted with. For instance, manatees. Right? We're not supposed to pet them. We're not supposed to interact with them because they're endangered. There's a strict guideline against them. So as long as we can follow these kind of steps, I would say we're moving in the right path. Again, please take action. Please support these organizations. I pointed out this one right here, World Ocean Day. Donate, support, and there's other events that can be taking place. But yeah, for me, someone who holds life in a high regard, I would say mostly the animals and species that cannot defend themselves. We have a higher responsibility to actually speak on this stuff so that way they're cared for. These species can last decades, millennia to come, right? Same thing with the ocean life. I want them to prosper for as long as they can. I don't want to see them going away. I don't want to see them vanishing. For me, it really does pain me to see animals affected by simple human, just bad fucking decisions, right? So if we can stop that anyway, please donate, do your part. If you live by the ocean, if you live by any reefs, any water regions, and I guess I would even spread this to people that live by lakes and things like that. Please just keep it clean. Throw your trash in the actual proper receptacle. Please don't just dump your crap wherever, because these animals are the ones that are affected way more than us. We're able to do something about it. We can pick it up. We can move around. Some people are able to live in trash, but the animals, I guarantee you, they are not able to defend themselves. They're not able to live in this type of environment for very long. So, if you could please do your part as a human, take care of the ocean, take care of your environment, and I guarantee you, we will find much more harmony with nature. Doesn't need to be so negative. It needs to be much more positive, because if they're gone, guess what? We will be gone shortly after that. The dark fucking grim reality, but without these animals and plant life, it just shows that humans will not make it that much further if we just keep on that same fucking path. So that's my little segment for World Ocean Day. Please, if you can, do your part. Greatly appreciate it. And now moving on to the third topic, I think second topic actually. I don't remember at this point, but Mary Sue has very much pushed this as the saying, like clockwork, annoying fans are review bombing the Acolyte. And I wanted to go onto Rotten Tomato, but they recently changed their fucking settings, so I can't go on there without allowing ads. And I'm not gonna do that. There's plenty of websites that allow you to watch something without ads. I'm not gonna do that shit. So we're using Metacritic instead. But the last time I did see it, you know what? Fuck it. We'll go there real quick just to see fucking so you guys can see for yourself. Rotten Tomato, The Acolyte. They're sitting at a what? 29%. It was lower earlier. It was at 26, but they've slowly crept up again. The Acolyte apparently has been review bombed. Now, the thing that I have an issue with is that whenever something gets review praised, everybody's radio silent. Nobody says a fucking thing when something is getting review praised, right? 10 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s. Guess what? That's been the only thing they reviewed. But yet, when people are pointing out their criticisms about something, like The Acolyte, for one, in all the interviews that we've seen, they don't actually address what is going on in the story. All they can do is point out their sexuality. All they can clamor onto is, well, the fans that think this way are in the wrong because of so and so, right? And then the disrespect they've taken towards George Lucas. And I understand that he's not in power anymore, but he was the one that created Star Wars. And without him, you would not be sitting in the position that you're in currently. Now, unfortunately, for a lot of these people in their high praise positions, they seem to just completely discount all that stuff, right? So they're seeing is all these angry trolls are just review bombing the Acolyte, even though some of us have been able to give valid criticisms in the story, in the fight scenes, in the music, in the physics, and then they'll try and piece other stuff and like, oh, there was explosions in other previous Star Wars films. You're pointing out the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, where George Lucas had to do all he can for practical effects when it came to those movies. Understand some explosions may not actually be realistic, but when you have a standing flame sitting there for a good 10 fucking seconds in the vacuum of space, it is not the same thing as an explosion. Because I think it's been pointed out, you can have an explosion in space, and that little bit of, radius of fire and debris and other things like that going off will go for a little bit. It won't reach that far, but that little explosion will still have the same effect that we kind of have on Earth with the fire and the debris flying everywhere. Of course, when the way George Lucas depicted it early on, he was using more practical effects. Now, with current CGI and other things that we have at our disposal, the excuse is not there. This is basically a high version CW show, and for the most part, it's a very crappy sci-fi show. Obviously, I have my grievances towards it, but the other thing that they point out is, oh, this is a show with twins, and they have the Force and other stuff like that. It's like, okay, we've already had that fucking theme done before. Literally, Princess Leia and Luke, they're twins. Yeah, I know they don't look the same, but they are twins. They were born in the same fucking time. And as we saw in Disney's version of Star Wars, Princess Leia had Force powers. Luke had Force powers. So this is nothing new to that fucking dynamic. But we're just rehashing old themes over here at this point. Not to mention Leslie Headland, former assistant of Harvey Weinstein, former personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein, right? Led a bunch of women to their demise and such, but she's not taking responsibility for that. But she has portrayed the Acolyte as Kill Bill meets Frozen meets The Matrix, and then recently heard that she also said it also meets Fight Club. How the fuck? I know we're not supposed to know about Fight Club, but she literally said it. Like, how the fuck is any of this supposed to resonate and make people feel like this is Star Wars, right? When you see the fight scenes and they're doing kung fu goddamn bullshit like The Matrix, and then later on in the first episode, she gets told no steel or laser, whatever, you have to kill basically with no weapon. Well, she killed the first fucking person, Indara, with a fucking butter knife. Yeah, we've seen in Ahsoka, people can get stabbed with a lightsaber. And they can get stabbed with a lightsaber and it's just a flesh wound. Yet Qui-Gon Jinn and all the other fucking people in the prequels and stuff like that that got barely stabbed. I'm sorry, you should have been able to walk that off, right? You gave up too soon. Ridiculous on the fucking continuity that has been built upon. But if we point it out, you're toxic, right? Like this. The Star Wars community is so toxic. Anything without a white male gets review bombed. When literally they did all they can to not have a white person in this show. And then we have a white person in the fucking show, and guess what he feels? White guilt. He feels guilty for not having been able to done something for Asha and May. And what does he do? He drinks the goddamn poison. He kills himself. Is that not an allegory for white guilt? That these white people should feel responsible for the suffrage of black people? Almost seems like you're trying to send a message there, Disney, that white people should be falling in line with. And also, we're oppressed. No, let's forget the fact that May literally set her home on fire because her sister did not agree with her, where her sister, Asha, wanted to be a Jedi, and May just wanted to just get away from all this stuff. So what did she do? She burned the fucking house down. And all her family and other women that lived in that same fucking place. Oh well. Oh well. We're not going to address that. We're not going to put the responsibility on an 11-year-old, of course, that decided to burn their whole fucking house down. And then we're going to put that onto the Jedi, which came in there trying to help them, and they're seen as CPS. Okay. But the fans are just toxic because we're seeing things that aren't there. Okay. And again, as you see here, they're just labeling it as, oh, well, it's certified fresh by the audience, or sorry, the critics. But such a huge difference? No. I wonder if these two critically loved Star Wars projects have in common that makes the incels crowd review bomb so hard. Oh, you mean The Last Jedi, which literally ruined Luke's character, where he saw his nephew do something bad in the vision, and so he almost fucking murdered him? That's justified, right? And then, throwing away the lightsaber, and it's like, oh, tell me you did not give a shit about what George Lucas said upon, because these people want to misconstrue facts so hard for their fucking message. Sorry, we're passionate. Sorry that we like to actually nitpick at little things here and there. That's what fans have always done. That's what nerds have always done for the past 30 to 40 years. They've been shit talking each other about, well, I wouldn't think that would be done because this and that, right? And I feel like Luke would definitely be doing this and that. Like, that's what nerds always did. They always argue about the littlest tiny shit, some headcanon, this and that, right? But now it's become where if you disagree with us, you're toxic. You're being bigoted. You're a sexist. You're homophobic. You're whatever. Like, I can't just have some criticism for what I saw. It needs to be labeled as toxic. It needs to be labeled as misogynist. really welcoming, really open-minded are you, huh? Like, that's all these people seem to understand. And again, of course, with Mary Sue, yeah. And whatever, I'll go into it with another fucking part here. So that's the Mary Sue portion. But again, we go to the Metacritic. User score is sitting at a 3.4. Now, there's a lot of people definitely giving it a 0. And then there's quite a bit also just giving it a 10. I would say the ones that fall a line, I would say, are the ones a little bit more in the middle. A 3, an 8, all right. A 1, maybe not. Like, I can see the average being about a 5 and a 6, honestly. But the way that it's been marketed has not been that at all. Unfortunately, it's been marketed as, well, Star Wars is gay now, and all the straight fans have an issue with current Star Wars. Like, no, okay, well, how about you stop putting us in that same fucking window as everybody else? Like, not everybody thinks the way you do. I'm sorry that over there in California you have the same mindset, but it's unfortunate that a lot of the country does not necessarily believe that way. And so when you pull someone else from outside, like Texas, Minnesota, Idaho, North Dakota, I don't know, like these people are not going to all have the same fucking idea of what you have because they live in very different settings. Unfortunately, California is an echo chamber when it comes to the woke stuff, the left, the bullshit. Criticize it, well, you just don't understand. And what they are trying to also say is that what she said here is being misconstrued. So let's take a listen to what Amandla Steinberg had to say about a movie for 2018 where people are also construing. They probably think she still believes this because a lot of these fucking Hollywood freaks think this way as well. And they continue these fucking beliefs onward. But we'll take a listen.
You say your greatest hope and success would have been beyond the white people crying. when people watch The Hate You Give, what do you want them to walk away with? Because I know everyone has a slightly different feeling.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal.
Just applause. Just applause. Again, they're referencing a movie where black people obviously have to keep worrying about when they get pulled over and, being prosecuted, being perceived a certain way, whatever. And again, culture was very different back in 2018 to now. So I don't think they're going to necessarily keep portraying the same type of thing. At least they're not going to speak about it as much, but they definitely believe this stuff. They keep thinking that, oh, if we get pulled over, we're just going to die. Like, no, okay. There's usually a reason for that reaction because we've seen a lot of times, unfortunately, African American men, for some reason, wanting to always fight back the cops, right? They always want to pull something out and be suspicious instead of just complying. Now, will I say that some of these people obviously have taken overboard where they didn't necessarily check themselves? I'm talking about the cops. Yes, that happens. That happens quite a bit. And a lot of it has to do with where cops fear for their life. They want to make sure they make it home at night. So they might do things that are a little bit more aggressive and keep themselves safe. But the reaction and the effect that it causes is, in turn, these people being a little bit more agitated, right? So that's where this quote is coming from. And again, they want to say, from Despicable here, financial analyst calls Star Wars The Acolyte global viewership pathetic and explains that only about 3% of Disney's Plus subscribers watched. And then the other one was racist trolls twist Amanda Stenberg's 5-year-old comments to attack The Acolyte. It's unfortunate. Maybe don't make certain comments like that. Like, I would know definitely. Well, I'm not going to say it on here because then guess what? That can be used against me later on. Some things need to be kept inside your fucking head. Some things just should not be spoken about because if you say anything on TV, on the internet, there like there's yeah, like we may have free speech, but there are societal consequences for things that you say and will happen later on in life. Society changes, culture changes. So what may have been acceptable 10 years ago may not be acceptable 15 years later. That's fine. Maybe make sure you scrub your fucking medias and other things like that, so that way anything you may have said that might have been offensive isn't offensive now. Like, I understand some people wanting to be like, well, we shouldn't be so soft, but things fucking change. But when you make comments like this, they will come taunt you. They will bite you in the ass later on. And don't get upset when people are trying to say, well, this is what you mean also now, because what you have literally said in the most recent interviews seems to fall in line with that, right? And you're calling fans toxic. Well, I'm sorry that it came to this then, because people aren't going to agree with you and they're going to have issues. That just fucking happens. The other portion we got to go over here as well is this portion of the fucking Leslie Headland and Dave Filoni. Crazy motherfuckers they are, but let's take a listen. Put that there.
Two directors talk about Star Wars.
That sounds good.
That does
Let's
sound
do
good.
that. Actually
Let's
sounds
do it.
really good.
Tell me about the Acolyte.
I'm sorry, just you asking me that question is making me cry.
Is it? That's all right.
Yeah.
It is a big deal to a lot of people. It affects people in different ways, and this is your story, so.
What I was interested in examining were the Sith. The master-apprentice dynamic. If the apprentice is craving the master's power, then at some point he must recruit his apprentice to overthrow the master.
Yeah.
And that is the Acolyte.
Right.
Who trained you? You don't wake up thinking you're evil or that you're the
Sure.
bad guy, as explored by George and Anakin.
Yeah, I don't think Anakin ever thinks he becomes evil.
I
in
agree,
life,
and I
you
think
know.
a lot of the characters in the Acolyte have to convince themselves that they are
Doing the right thing.
they're doing the right thing.
Again, after rewatching those films just recently, again, Anakin was manipulated. He did things out of love. Now, did he do a lot of heinous shit? Yes. But what these people are being unfaithful about is the way it was conveyed. George very much made it apparent that Anakin wasn't always... He was always teetering on good and bad. They want to portray it as, well, he didn't know he was bad. No, there was a lot of characters that felt like Anakin was not the right fit for the job. Mace Windu, Yoda, they very much had their reserves for Anakin for a specific reason. His love for his mother, his fear to losing the loved ones that he had, his mother, and then eventually Padme. It was easy for Palpatine to manipulate that and be like, I can give you what you most desire. Basically being a genie, right? A genie always comes with a caveat. They might grant you your wish, but they're going to do it in a way that that benefits the genie. It's going to have a side effect. You might wish for $1 million. Guess what? You might lose someone you love because of that $1 million. Well, I didn't want that. Well, it's unfortunate. The genie doesn't ask for that stuff. They just do it. They make your wish happen, and guess what? There's consequences for that action. There is nothing that ever comes without a price. But they're denying that Anakin had he was always clouded. Literally, fucking every single movie you watch him in, he was clouded in his judgment. He could not just think straight for one fucking minute. Padme falls. Oh my God, let me go help her. And Obi-Wan, no. We got a mission to do, bro. What would she do? Oh, okay, right. Like, no, it just... they're being disingenuous.
This is the Clone Wars.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ahsoka was such an interesting character to me.
When we started, we had it very much a shell shock moment for her that she was out of her depth. And I'll never forget it. George watching it and saying, "You guys are taking this a bit too seriously." He went
George saying you guys are taking it a bit too seriously. Guess what? Ahsoka was never supposed to survive Order 66. Ahsoka was not supposed to survive this long, right? And Dave Filoni alone made it his fucking job that this chick is his bread and butter. This dude fucking jacks off to her, I'm sure, 24/7. Like, I'm blue, dabble dee, dabble da. God damn it. Oh, like, it's unfortunate that George did help Dave Filoni with Ahsoka, but it's clear when we hear again. Well, I'll go over a little bit other stuff, but it's clear that he did not expect it to go this way, right? And they just took stuff and pushed it further than it had to be, right? So
on to explain that, like, even at a young age, she's not out of her depth for any of this.
I had a similar experience with the character Jackie. There was a note from somebody that was, wouldn't she be scared on her first mission? And I remember you telling me about that story.
Jedi training has to be valuable. It prepares them for the galaxy.
oh no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Training simulations is one thing. Actually going through the real life hardships is another. How many times in the real world have we seen people that go through military training, police training, and things like that? As soon as a real incident happens where people's lives are lost, people's lives are at risk, and that cop, that soldier has to act, there is a 50-50 chance that that person breaks or that person is deemed their heroism, I guess you could say, comes into fruition. They're wanting to push. Oh my god! Again, that Ahsoka and Jackie are the same way. Big badass girl fucking moment, right? Where they can handle it. But yet you got Jackie, X-23, I'm calling her, basically belittling Yord, a Jedi Knight, someone who's her superior. He's shown as a bumbling fool. He doesn't have the right idea. His plans suck ass. Guess what? This Padawan, Jackie, oh, she knows better. Her plans and other things like that, I'll listen to you instead. Like, what the fuck? What a way to just usurp power. Like, that's why I'm like, these people don't understand hierarchies and other things like that, how they work. They're just, I got a badass female character. Here you go. Like, get the fuck out of here. God, I'm tired of that shit. Let's fucking end it with this fucking portion. I'll keep playing this clip because George puts it out plain as fucking day. And they even had a little bit of that clip shown in what they had for the interview. But what does he say?
One is selfless, one is selfish. And you want to keep them in balance. What happens when you go to the dark side is it goes out of balance, and then you get really selfish and you forget about everybody, and you ultimately lead yourself, because when you get selfish, you get stuff, or you want stuff. And when you want stuff and you get stuff, then you are afraid somebody's going to take it away from you, whether it's a person or a thing or a particular pleasure, experience. Once you become afraid that somebody's going to take it away from you, or you're going to lose it, then you start to become angry, especially if you're losing it. And that anger leads to hate. And hate leads to suffering. I mean, you got the dark.
Explains it very perfectly. Very easy for all most normal people to understand. Dark side is evil. Light side is good. Light side leads to harmony. Dark side leads to suffering. One uses the power of your anger and fear for power, while the other one uses balance. Being cool, calm, collected, light side, right? Like, oh, I don't think it's that hard of a concept to understand, but for some reason, these fucking dimwits want to portray it as something else. Star Wars isn't what it once was. It has been hijacked by politically agenda-driven people that want to make it something that it's not. It's just unfortunate. So if you call it out, you're just a bigot, a misogynist, and sexist. When that's not what we had when we were growing up. It was for everybody. It didn't have to be stated. It's for these people. Now that's all it ever is. So I'll end it there for that. Next thing that I wanted to tick off on the docket list was Despicable Me 4 and Steve Carell troll Marvel and Dwayne Johnson. So this is pretty good to see. I'm happy to talk about this portion, but basically Illumination is very much having fun with the Minions and Despicable Me, right? They're trolling hard. As you see here, Illumination's The Megaverse. Introducing the Megaverse, 100 years of Mega Minion stories released in a irregular basis pending economic conditions and vibe shifts. Damn, they really are fucking hitting strafes on the fucking Marvel and DC. They fucking started out with saying the hierarchy of power in the Illumination universe is about to change. Basically fucking making fun of The Rock's quote, the multiverse video game, whatever, when that trolls The Rock. Here we have a few pictures of what they were going on. The Megaverse, Mega Minions, PX41, 2066. The Megas must confront their darkest fear when evil versions of themselves arrive from a parallel timeline. Whatchamacallit. Mega Minions Beyond Time, facing the greatest enemy yet, boredom. The Megas plan an over-the-top and all-or-nothing finale filled with every trope known to minion kind. Like, it's good that fucking Illumination is doing this because it's just bringing to light how ridiculous. I'll point out, Blade was announced in 2019. It is currently 2024. Where the fuck is that? Not to mention, last year we had reports that Blade was going to be a side character in his own fucking movie because 3 lead females were going to take the spotlight over him. Now, tell me how that makes sense. Would you definitely want to see Mashhad Ali sit in the back burner because 3 female leads are more prominent than him? No. And guess what? He didn't agree either. He almost fucking left the project, and so Marvel had to scrap the project and rewrite it. Still no update on that. But I'm sure they can't keep this up for long because dude's only getting older. He's getting tired. I'm sure he wants to move on to other projects. And with the amount of time they're taking and sinking into these projects, with most of them costing at minimum $200 million, guess what? They're not going to really be breaking their profits anytime soon. And the diminishing effect of superhero fatigue, which is more so just bad writing fatigue, because the people can't actually depict a good story well enough. That's why. In the video, Steve Carell reveals plans for the Megaverse timeline, which spans 50 movies over 100 years, an obvious dig at Marvel, who regularly reveals timelines in their various MCU phases. Carell also reveals the Mega Minions, which appear to be the franchise's take on the Avengers and Justice League superheroes. By now, you've probably heard of the Mega Minions, 5 minions with incredible powers and 0 responsibilities, says Carell, who provides the voice of Gru in the Minions. Blah, blah, blah. Or sorry, Despicable Me. 50 interconnected Mega Minion stories. Carell continues presenting Illumination's Megaverse. 50 interconnected Mega Minion stories shared across a variety of mediums on an irregular basis for the next 100 years, from their debut in Despicable Me 4, the Mega Minions are charting a course from the big screen to the small screen, from the future to the present of the future, and from stages of Broadway to the ice rinks of Jacksonville, Florida. Excited you should be. Like, I love it. I love seeing this kind of shit where you actually have competition. You have someone actually making fun of you on how ridiculous you have been for the past 10, 20 years now. Oh my God. We could have had so much at this point, but Kevin Feige is just sniffing his own ass at this point because he doesn't want to let go of power. He doesn't want to let other creative people that probably have a better idea than him take charge. No, he's in charge. He's the sole reason why the Marvel, even though there were other people that helped Kevin get to this point. We're not gonna acknowledge that. All I gotta say, it has been wonderful to see people turn on Marvel in such a way because, well, guess what? If you give people a shit product and don't deliver on all those promises, it's only right for the audience to actually have some form of retaliation. Other than that, I feel like that will probably be it. Last thing I will cover real quick is there is a meetup in Dallas right now, or it was. It's probably already over. Not sure how long the bar is open, but in Dallas, you had a fucking stalker of Eric July's get arrested because, well, guess what? It is a place. It was a venue that had RSVPs and a waiting list. So if you were not on that list or did not pay, guess what? You're not allowed in. And this person, from the looks of it, took it too far and tried entering the premise and obviously got arrested on behalf of Eric July. No fault for this man himself. I'm sorry, Eric July. But for the person who literally tried doing this shit, yeah, maybe not the smartest move. And again, you see here the same person, Dick Masterson, fucking posting like 3 fucking times the same fucking thing. Like, no, he's not. He's not a bitch about it. It's just there are rules and there are ways about it. There are ways to go about these fucking things. But if you're gonna be that belligerent, you're gonna just disregard the rules, you're gonna get arrested. Because guess what? Private property. You're not allowed on there. So of course, shit like this will happen. Christ, it is fucking insane how wild these people are. But I would say I hold no remorse for this kind of stuff. Because if you're gonna act stupid, you're gonna win stupid prizes. So, with that being said, that ends us on another Ace in the Hole episode, number 3. Hopefully you enjoyed this this live stream, this show, whatever. And we look forward to any comments, likes, and shares that y'all give us. For now, I'm Ace Shinigami signing out. Y'all have a good morning, good evening, and good night. We will catch you in the next one. For now, adios.